What's up, gang? This is Izzy, back at it again. Wanted to make a video to provide you with some helpful hints and tips on what you might expect to experience while you're traveling abroad during the COVID pandemic. Just want to also remind you that you're watching the Travel Junkie Lifestyle. Okay, so let's begin. As you all are aware, we're still COVID, post-COVID during these times. So some countries are starting to open up. There's actually been countries that have allowed citizens, US citizens, to enter their country provided that they show proof, documented proof that they are COVID negative. There are certain delays and certain restrictions that you have to follow through to be able to get in there. So I recommend that when you first start looking for a country that you may want to travel, go to their consulate websites, make sure that you understand the restrictions and the guidelines that they want you to follow in order to be able to enter their country. I'll give you a perfect example. Brazil wants you to just fill out an attestation, and places like Lima and Chile will also require that. There are certain restrictions to travel into Peru. They want you to wear this plastic face mask and give a lot of details on the attestation that you have to fill out. Now that attestation that you fill out can be, I guess you can find a link online if you're familiar with the language. If not, when you get at the airport, give yourself plenty of time. And when you check in, they will provide you with a digital code that you can use your phone to access, and then you can fill out that attestation. Most of that stuff that's out there right now, it tends to be for the airlines. They want you to fill that information out before you can get onto the airports. I'll give you a perfect example. When I went to Brazil, I had to fill that attestation out. They actually had that in English and in Portuguese, so that wasn't a big deal. The ones in Chile, I couldn't really hit it very well, so I just gave up and I moved over to Brazil for a few days instead. Same thing with Lima, Peru. They have some attestations that you'll need to fill out in order to get in there. And of course, again, some of the airlines want you to wear that face mask that keeps all that contagions or spit or anything like that from going on to all sorts of stuff as you're on the plane. Mexico doesn't have that kind of restriction from what I recall, so I think I'm grateful for being able to travel to Mexico in regards to that. I was able to walk through the border. I traveled to Laredo, Texas, so shout out to people from Laredo, and I was able to walk across over the summer and come back in without any issues. It was hot. Laredo's a really hot area. It's very arid. And then I also flew, believe it was last October, flew into Mexico and didn't have any issues with that as long as I wore my mask and was careful with everything. There's a lot of adherence to cleanliness and proper protection as you're traveling to the airport. So make sure you follow those guidelines. Don't give anybody reason to keep you from boarding the airplanes. So let me go ahead and give you some information about the documentation. So here in the US, there's a lot of people that already taken their immunization, whether it's the Moderna, whether it's the Pfizer or the Johnson & Johnson. And what happens is after you take your shots, they will give you that documentation that you have as proof. Unfortunately, the airlines still want you to have a documented proof of from 72 hours before you take that flight. So I recommend that you call your local clinic or your doctor and ask them if you can take a PCR or any other tests that are out there. 72 hours or 48 hours, give yourself the 72-hour time frame and make sure you get a copy of that because there are delays and hopefully they can email to you, but get that before you show up to the airport. What the airliners will want to do is they'll want to look at that documentation. Now, in addition to that, I wanted to let you know that when you're flying back from whichever country you're traveling from, you're going to need some kind of proof as well to get back into the U.S. Again, like I said, this is the airline companies that want to see that proof. So you want to, what I would recommend is that when you land, you want to ask the airlines, see if they have any pamphlets on where you can go to get tested, or if the airlines have a spot there that if you arrive before your departure, that you can take a test and then they can forward it to you. There's a lot of places, Sao Paulo, while I was there a few months ago, had that option for me to take that test. So I was fortunate to get a flight an hour after my original departure, but I was still able to get a flight and head back to the U.S., which was I was really grateful for that. I'll put it that way. So yeah, that's one thing that you want to do. You want to get tested again locally before you leave, and then ask the airlines or the stewardess. They probably have that information nowadays too, though. Also, you'll want to ask them how you can fill out any attestation. So hopefully you can get assistance with that if you don't speak the native language there, and fill it out, and then you can get on board. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that would benefit. Oh, here's a good thing that I want to share. There are a lot of people still going through the visa application. So let's say, for example, you have friends that want to come into the U.S. and they want to apply for U.S. visa to travel in. There is a delay, so they may end up having to wait for a year, maybe a little more. It may be the same thing for you if you're wanting to travel to another country that requires a local visa. So I recommend that you go to their consulate website, take a look and see the requirements, if they require that you need a visa to travel into the U.S., if there is any information about attestations that you can fill out beforehand. You can email them. There are a lot of the websites out there for these countries that when you send an email, they take forever to respond. So you may want to do two things. You want to email them, and then when you get a chance, call them. I've started to see that some of these consulates and international organizations out there are starting to use WhatsApp. So that's a good application to download and install on your phone. Also, while you're traveling, feel free to download like the Uber applications, and there's a 99 one as well. There may be other applications that you'll need to download while you're there locally. Some locations, although they have the restaurants that are still closed, they do have catering where you can order out. I guess as you just call and order delivery food. So you can download like the applications that are out there, like iFood, and there may be Uber Eats. Ask the hotel or the location that you'll be staying at once you get there to see if there are any recommendations they have for locations that may be open. Ask them to see if there's any applications they recommend you download so that you can order food should you not be able to go into a restaurant and dine. And then also for traveling, taxis are really expensive. Everywhere that I've been to lately have been kind of more expensive than the Uber or the 99 app. So I recommend that you use those as well. I think those are really good starting points to give you as in regards to travel tips while you're outside of the country. I do want to remind or just let you know that on my website, traveljunkielifestyle.com, I'm going to post a link for where you can follow up and find locations, local locations where you're at, hopefully, to get COVID testing. Should you need to get tested, then you can use that link to find a location nearby. Also, I'll put a link out there for the passport and visas for the travelstate.gov. So should you need to renew your passport, or if you have somebody that's traveling, like let's say a family member wants to come and visit the U.S., they can apply for a visa if they're not in a country that does not require, or that the U.S. requires for them to have a visa to travel into the country. I'll put that out there as well. One more thing, I did want to say that some of these Casa de Cambio places are closed in some of these countries because of their restrictions. So if you see an ATM at the airport, or if you see a Casa de Cambio that's open at the airport, I really recommend that you go ahead and make your exchanges there, or do a cash withdrawal from the ATM. It's just easier, more convenient to be able to do it while you're there, or as you find it, though. Do it as you. That's all I got, and I just want to say thanks again for visiting my channel. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll put that information on YouTube, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And again, you've been watching the Travel Junkie Lifestyle. Bye.